Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Laurie Crayston, and in this video I am going to talk you through how to plan your next FKT attempt. There's so much that goes into it, whether it's unsupported, self-supported or supported. There's a massive amount of planning behind every single FKT attempt. So the first part would be to research the route. I've created a completely separate video on how to find an FKT. Once you've found it and you know what the record is, the second thing to do is to budget. Can you actually afford to do this? And if not, how can you make it affordable? How long will it take? And as a result, will you need some time off work? That's not just for the challenge itself, but for the time it's going to take you to recover too. Will you need to buy any new gear for it? Will you need to buy food for it? If you are doing it supported, will you need to pay for any help along the way, whether that's pacers, guides, people to carry your kit or transport your kit from one section to another? Are you going to be publicly tracked? If so, will you need to pay for a tracker? Do you want to really push this out to the media? Will you need some public relations help? These are all things that you have to consider. Once you've worked out if you can afford it, the next step is to work out how much time it's all going to take and set a realistic timeline. This isn't just for the challenge itself, but for training as well. If you're not quite ready to take this on now, you're going to need to set yourself enough time to become the person who is. For example, if you're planning a multi-day event or a monster challenge, and you've only done something that's been a single day or a matter of hours before, you're going to need to get used to having long days on the trail, and that is going to take time. In terms of working out how long the attempt itself is going to take, there's a few ways that you can do this. You can compare the distance and the ascent to things that you have done personally in the past, or if someone has done the route that you're looking to do that's maybe of a similar ability to you, you can use that as well. Just be careful with this on making sure that you know what the terrain itself is like as well, and not just for distance and ascent. If there's particularly boggy sections or sections that are particularly difficult underfoot, this will of course take longer. It's always best to get out onto the route itself and recce it. You'll often be able to find reports too from people who currently hold or have held the FKT as well, whether that's on blogs or on Strava or on social media, whatever it is, they are out there. In terms of training and preparation strategies, there are a lot of places you can find help with this, and of course on this channel moving forward there'll be a lot more content to come about training for these sorts of events. Do subscribe and look out for those to come. Next, you need to consider whether there's any gear or equipment that you need in order to complete this, and if any of that gear or equipment is specialist, and of course if you know how to use it. If you're doing something in winter, it might require crampons. Are you familiar with how to use crampons? Are you able to get those crampons onto your boots quickly, get them off quickly as required? That sort of thing. You need to learn about the gear that you're going to be using, and you need to practice with it so that it becomes like an extra limb. And finally, team. Will you need one? What's their ability like? Are they capable of doing what you need them to be able to do on the day? What's their availability like? If it's a big team, is everyone available on that day or days? This, for bigger challenges, can be a massive logistical nightmare, and it's something that you really need to consider. As far as really dialing in for the attempt itself, there's 4 things that you need to focus on. The first, and quite possibly the most important, is your nutrition and hydration. Where are you going to get fluid from? Are you going to carry it? Are you going to get it en route? Is someone else going to carry it for you? If you're using a filter bottle to get it from streams and becks en route, have you got enough electrolytes with you? If you're not using a filter bottle, have you got enough electrolytes with you? Are you happy with your nutrition plan? Is the food that you're going to be consuming during a challenge food that your body is happy actually consuming? Does it digest it well? Have you had plenty of practice performing at the level that you're going to have to perform at whilst also eating that food? For example, for me, gels, things like that really don't agree with me. They just go right through and it is not pleasant. For a lot of my ultra distance challenges and my multi-day events, I eat protein brownies. If anyone's followed me since I did the unsupported Wainwrights, you'll remember that I ate about 120 protein brownies and nothing else in the space of a fortnight. And although it sounds ridiculous, it was perfect for me. In the run-up to that challenge, because I knew I would lose a lot of weight, I was eating in a massive calorie surplus. All of that surplus was coming from brownies. So I'd be on the sofa at night while I was doing a bit of work or planning or watching Netflix or whatever, and I would just binge eat brownies, 5, 6, 7 brownies in one go. And that put the weight on that I needed, but it also got my body so used to eating these brownies that when it came to the actual challenge itself, it was absolutely fine and there was no issues whatsoever. The next thing, as I've touched on, is equipment as well. If you do have to buy any new equipment for this, then make sure you know how to use it. Even if it's something as simple as a backpack, practice wearing it, do your hikes with it, do your runs with it, whatever it is. Make sure that the straps fit comfortably, make sure that you know how to tighten the straps, where they need to sit on you. If there's anything that's going to rub, make sure you can work out how to stop it rubbing before you actually start the challenge. And speaking of rubbing, obviously footwear is a massive one. Don't buy new shoes for a challenge, even if they're the same type of shoes that you've been training in. If you are out for multi-days and you've got things like a pocket knife, just make sure where the knife is, where the saw is, where the scissors are. If you've got things like tape or food or whatever it is, make sure you know which pocket of your rucksack or your jacket they'll be stored in. All these little things you can practice beforehand, and they'll save you so much time and so much mental energy during the challenge itself. And navigation. Again, do you know the route? Have you been able to recce the route? Do you know it off by heart? If you don't know it off by heart, how are you going to navigate? Have you got an app? Have you got a backup map if the app doesn't work, if the technology fails you? These are all things that you need to consider, but ultimately knowing the route off by heart because you've recce'd it so much is the best way to go about this. Nothing can replace that. And not only that, but by recceing the route enough to know it off by heart, you'll have probably put the hard miles in as well to make you physically prepared for the route too. The last thing that you need to consider to really dial in and get yourself ready for the challenge is the mental side of things and your mindset. For this, you really need to put yourself in a position that's as close in reality to the challenge itself as you can, whether that's physically or mentally. One of my favourite examples of this is Colin O'Brady when he was training for his unsupported crossing of the Antarctic. His trainer made him put his hands and feet in buckets of ice, and then he'd have to build Lego, tie knots and figure out how to do these things with freezing hands, because that is what he would have to do during the challenge itself. So really just try and put yourself physically and mentally in the places that you'll be during the challenge. Think about as well what can possibly go wrong. Ultimately, if you can prepare for it mentally before it happens, it's going to give you so much less of a knock during the challenge itself, and you're that much more likely to get through it. And so to summarize, if you are looking to do an FKT, first of all, figure out why. If you're happy with your reasons why, then look at how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. And then from there, you can really start to put together a plan of how you're going to tackle this. The benefits that I have gained in personal growth in so many ways from chasing FKTs and records are absolutely incredible, and I would recommend doing it to anyone, no matter your ability. Just have that massive goal in planning, preparing, training and actually doing it. You're going to gain so much, so just get out there, put the work in and give it a go. If you have any questions or you feel like I've missed anything, please do drop me a comment below, and of course please hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.